Greetings, young kindred of the West. Did you miss me? I know I missed you. But I realize I've been quite a poor host recently. I've been talking about my kind all the time. Me all the time. You must really be getting bored. I think it's time we talked about you and your kind. No, not just the information that you've been giving, and I thank you so tremendously for that, but how the Kuei-Jin perceive maybe your kind, your Western kindred on their path down to damnation. But anyway, so I think we have a pretty accurate picture, but maybe a few details are wrong. Maybe you can correct me on those. So, but this is how the Kuei-Jin, the scholarly Kuei-Jin, perceive your kind. First of all, we all know that you have 13 clans. That's well known everywhere, except everyone seems to count them slightly differently. A detail that we can get back to, but if you've got 13 clans, you should know which ones they are. Tremere, Salubri, what's with the confusion? But of course, well, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but everyone knows that the most important of the vampire clans is, of course, the Ravnos, the undead lords of India that grip that continent and constantly stimmy Kuei-Jin plans that have infiltrators all over the world feeding them back information. They must be recognized as the dominant power in vampire society. Well, there are a few other factions I must mention. The Camarilla and the Sabbat. Now, we are, us Kuei-Jins, very respectful of our ancestors and traditional values. But don't you think it's a bit excessive to divide your society in half just based on whether your great-grandparents were nice or not nice? It's kind of a bit extreme. Well, traditional, we're not going to criticize if you want to keep the old battles alive. And of course, within this Camarilla Sabbat, it's not a real division, because you all seem to band together whenever the Kuei-Jin arrive. But the rulers are undoubtedly the, well, again, the Nosferatu. They know everything. They move about the cities. I can't see any way that they could not be the rulers. If the spy masters and information brokers are not the rulers, who could be? They're not going to let anybody else rule, are they? But yes, and of course the central command, the rulers of the rulers, the central command of the Nosferatu are the Assamites, as everyone knows. What? Yeah, I've heard that story. The Assamites are a clan of assassins that do nothing but assassinate and hide in their city-state. Yeah. Like that's gonna fly. They'd be wiped out in half a second by everybody else. You can't build a clan of, hey, I'm going to kill you. That is what we are. Yeah. So that's a ridiculous story. I pay it no attention. What others? Yes, obviously, and then in the Nosferatu hierarchy, you have at the bottom, you have the Kaitif. They're the ambassadors. We see quite a lot of them. They're spying on us, negotiating with us in ways that are never happening. We have no interaction with the Western kindred whatsoever. But when we do have the interactions that we don't have, it's with these caitiffs, who are obviously ambassadors of your kind and of your rulers. So they are Nosferatu as well. What about else? Well, we heard the Bruja. That's obviously French for loud noise, Bruja. That seems to be all that's relevant about them. Setites, wonderful. We've seen them quite a bit, and we've known them, we've met them before. These are monotheists and missionaries. Missionaries to their monotheist gods. These are basically the vampire Mormons. and the vampire Protestant missionaries, we have quite a lot of experience of those. We don't particularly care for them and their regressive values, but hey, if they go around trying to convert, it's not like it's any skin off a Kuei-Jin's back. And the Salubri, still powerful and scary after all these years. What? You haven't heard of the Salubri? Oh, they call themselves the Tremere now, but don't worry, we can still smell the same blood upon them. It's clear. And I know there's some cock story about how the Tremere arrived and killed off all the Salubri. So in 100 years, a great clan was destroyed and replaced by another one that seems very similar in smell. Yeah. Again, so sorry to break it to you, but there's so much mythology in you, that you Westerners cling to. The Giovanni, well, they are a branch of the Triads. They're an Italian triad, and obviously they're being run by a Kuei-Jin Song of Shadow. Their obsession with death matches perfectly. I'm sure that about at least probably half the top of the leaders of the Giovanni are actually Kuei-Jin. We're keeping that a bit quiet, and I'd prefer it if you didn't pass on that information. Then you have the gangers. They run wild and beat stuff up, and for some reason have not been put to death. I don't know. Emotions. There's nothing more to say about them, is there? And let's see. Yes, well, here again, I'm going to have to puncture some of your illusions. What you think of Tsimisi as vampires, well, they're blatantly just a lost group of the Kuei-Jin. They practice flesh and bone Shintai. They revamp their bodies. Yes, they are one of us. And I'm sure that in due time, they will return and bring us all the information of the West and all the abilities and resources they've been patiently accumulating. What else? The Toreador. Magnificence. Steamy tales of sex. Yeah, more steamy tales of sex. But let's be honest, steamy tales of sex, whew, you can never get tired of it, especially when you're yang aspected. And they really do it well. They bring in poetry, art, culture, but it's all really about sex. The La Sombra. They're goths, basically. They're obsessed with shadows and mirrors and who's cool and who's not cool. It's entertaining, I suppose. Though I hear that if a La Sombra gets particularly boring, they become downgraded to a Ventru, which is a boring form of La Sombra. And finally, Clan Malkavian, which warms our hearts. I mean, we respect your seers. If there was a war, or if the Kindred of the West became subservient to our needs, the Malkavians would be the most respected. They see so far, and they babble it, because it is a basic requirement. You wouldn't want a seer that answers your question clearly. So, that is our picture of your kind, and what I'm detecting a certain skepticism there. Are you thinking that maybe I may have got one or two of these minor details right, or that the average Kuei-Jin doesn't quite comprehend the vampires of the West to the extent they think they do? Well, if that's the case, and if that story strikes you as incorrect, think about how many mistakes you must have in your understanding of the Kuei-Jin. I leave you with that thought.